Hello, everyone. Welcome in. We're so glad you're here today for the Precision Prospecting, Leveraging Wealth Engine to Engage High Net Worth Clients workshop. Please note the cameras and mics are disabled. We'll offer a live Q&A at the end of today's presentation when we will then re-enable cameras and mics. This class is being recorded and you'll be able to refer back to the recording at a later date. We do have a few housekeeping items before we begin. We appreciate you being here since this program is optional and discusses best practices for your consideration. If you are thinking of adopting any of these, please make sure to review the requirements in your region with your branch manager, including those related to contacting consumers. As a real estate agent, you can tap into AI tools like Microsoft Copilot, our recommended tool. It can help streamline tasks and boost efficiency, but remember, AI isn't always spot on, so it's essential you proofread and ensure the information is accurate, because ultimately you are responsible for the content. When using AI-generated content, consider adding a disclosure, such as content generated with AI assistance. Also, stay compliant with copyright laws, ethical standards, and fair housing regulations. Lastly, exercise good judgment, protect confidential information, and review AI-generated content thoughtfully. We do want to highlight the importance of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, better known as the TCPA. The general rules are that it's okay to call people if the person recently gave you their phone number, but remember to check with the DNC list regularly if you haven't spoken to that person or contacted the lead in a while. You'll also want to check the DNC list anytime you haven't gained express permission. Automated calling and texting platforms should never be used. Pre-recorded messages and artificial voices should never be used. You will be personally liable for any violations of the TCPA. There is a do not contact tile on desk that should be used to look up a contact or contact information to ensure compliance. Quick steps are to number 1, sign on to desk. Number 2, click on do not contact, type in the phone number to be checked. And step 4, your results will show records for federal, state, and anywhere advisors company do not call lists. Now the fun's out of the way, let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Zach. So welcome again, and thank you so much for joining us. So in this workshop, we will go over what targeted advertising is and how to really utilize WealthEngine in your marketing efforts. We will go through some use cases, real examples of why WealthEngine matters, and how you can apply it in your business every day. From there, we will walk through the process step by step, how to sign up, how to access insights, and how to pull targeted prospect lists. And then we will move into a live demonstration of the platform where you will see exactly how to use WealthEngine to prospect for an actual listing. And finally, we will wrap up with a Q&A and answer any questions that you might have. So to get us started, I would like to introduce today's presenters. My name is Alexandra McMahon. I'm the Luxury Marketing Manager for New England, and I'm joined by Alyssa Mahoney, Luxury Marketing Manager for SoCal and Southwest, and Zach White, Luxury Marketing Specialist in SoCal. We're also joined by Moira Boyle, Senior Director and Global Head of Luxury at Altrada, the parent company of WealthEngine and 4 additional data firms. Moira has been with the organization for more than 12 years and brings an incredible depth of knowledge and insights. We are very fortunate to have her with us today, and she will be leading a live demo later in the presentation. And of course, this workshop wouldn't be possible without the incredible work of the Global Luxury Marketing team. This team supports every major luxury market nationwide with 15 experienced marketing managers and specialists providing personalized guidance, strategy, and innovation for our agents. This map offers a visual overview of the regions covered by our team. And we will also share a document at the end of the presentation outlining each team member's territory and contact information.
Okay, now before we dive into WealthEngine as a tool, I want to start by first explaining the value of precision targeting and how it actually works. So precision targeting is an advertising and marketing strategy that allows us to deliver marketing to a very specific audience instead of putting one generic message out in front of everyone. So rather than casting a wide net, we're being intentional about who sees what and why. At its core, precision targeting ultimately allows you to use data to match the right message to the right buyer or person or seller, right, at the right time. And we can pull from many different types of data, including what's on someone's screen, how they behave online, and where they're located. Instead of marketing to everyone, we craft and create messages that are highly focused on the people who are most likely to convert, whether that means someone who is most likely to buy a specific home or sell their property or engage with an agent. And as you'll hear more shortly, WealthEngine's prospecting tool serves as a resource that allows you to use hundreds of attributes to aid in your precision targeting. And these can be used in a variety of different ways, which Alex will also be outlining later in the next section. But there are many different types of attribute categories that are available for filtering your prospect results in WealthEngine. We have more common considerations like geographic factors, including state or zip code or metro areas, as well as demographic factors such as age, phone number, education, income. But we also have more specific attribute aspects like an individual's charitable donations, businesses that they own, household composition, all the way down to vehicles that they may own, like boats, planes, or a really large car collection. All of this allows you to be smarter and more efficient with your advertising. The goal isn't more impressions, it's more relevant impressions. And when your marketing outreach feels relevant, it performs better and ultimately drives better real results. So when it comes to targeted advertising through digital marketing, this is a really, really powerful tool for you as real estate agents, right? But why? Targeted advertising is going to allow you as agents to be much smarter about how you're spending your marketing dollars. It helps reduce wasted ad spend. So instead of paying to show your listing to everyone, you can focus only on people who are more likely to buy or sell. And that means that every dollar that is spent is working harder and goes further. You can also leverage targeted advertising to reach qualified buyers and sellers. So think of it this way. Instead of sending out 100 mailers to an entire neighborhood, what if you sent only 50, but those 50 were chosen intentionally? So they're people that you've researched and you know their approximate net worth, how long they've lived in their current home, their age range, and other factors that make them more likely to be interested in your listing than a random group. It's not about doing more, it's about doing it all smarter. And it also helps you to stay top of mind during long decision cycles. So many of you are well aware that real estate decisions take time. People browse, save, compare, and revisit homes for weeks or even months. And so targeted ads keep your listing visible throughout their entire journey so that buyers don't immediately forget about it. And finally, targeted advertising allows you to build strong brand authority in the neighborhoods, the markets, the price ranges where you want to specialize. So when people are consistently seeing your listings in your marketing in their area, they start to recognize you as a go-to expert for that market. You can also benefit from precise targeting capabilities like measurable ROI and performance analytic tracking, and even consistent visibility so that you're able to remain top of mind. And at the end of the day, it's about being more intentional, more strategic, and getting better results with less wasted spend. So now that we've discussed what precision targeting is, let's take a look at how WealthEngine prospect lists can help you to truly tailor your marketing approach and why it's so much more effective than the old way of marketing. Traditionally, an agent would market to everyone in a neighborhood, right? And you would send the same thing to everyone, all the exact same marketing. The problem is only a small percentage of the households that are getting your marketing are actually in a life stage where they're likely to sell, and generic messaging isn't really going to resonate with them. So you end up spending time and money talking and reaching people who simply just aren't in the market. And that's where WealthEngine comes in. You can strategically analyze all of the attributes that are available within WealthEngine to identify groups who are statistically more likely to be preparing for a move. For example, empty nesters, growing families, executives, households experiencing income growth. These are all people who are far more likely to make a real estate decision soon. And then from there, you can tailor your messaging to match where each group is in their life stage. For example, for upsizers, the message might be looking for more space or modern amenities. Or for downsizers, you can focus on unlock equity while simplifying your lifestyle. It's targeted, it's intentional, and highly relevant to their situation. And then the result becomes that you're able to reach people who are more likely to move with the right messaging. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Zach to give an introduction on what WealthEngine is in more detail.
Perfect. Thanks, Alyssa. So Alyssa was great, and we covered a lot of value related to targeted advertising. As she mentioned, we're going to take a closer look at the tool that makes all of this possible. That is WealthEngine. So WealthEngine is a powerful platform that lets you instantly build targeted prospect lists using data from over 45 sources and over 100 million US individuals, all in real time. Within the platform, we can vet potential buyers or sellers, we can research for listing appointments, and we can create a targeted prospecting list. In a few slides, I'll share more on these exact use cases. The best part, though, if you're a certified luxury property specialist, you get complimentary access to the WealthEngine platform plus 500 prospecting credits, which renew every July 1st. As a certified luxury property specialist, accessing WealthEngine is simple. You can sign up directly on desk, or easiest of all, you can scan the QR code that will show at the end of today's presentation to get started. Once you sign that user agreement and the Coldwell Banker team verifies your luxury property specialist status, WealthEngine will send you a create a password email. Just keep an eye on your inbox. This sign-in link, and it's only good for about 24 hours. From there, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks for your access to be fully activated. After that, you'll also receive a full schedule with registration links for demos, trainings, and live Q&A sessions, so you can hit the ground running within the platform. As previously mentioned, certified agents get 500 credits every year. And if you want to scale even further, you can easily purchase additional credits whenever you need them at just 16 cents per contact with a $250 minimum purchase. Remember, these credits do not roll over year to year, so be sure to get into the system and utilize your allotments. The WealthEngine team is there to make sure you're supported every step of the way as well. You'll have access to monthly training sessions to help you identify high-value buyers, understand wealth and lifestyle insights, and build stronger, smarter prospecting lists. And if you ever need help, jump into their Q&A sessions that are held twice a month for direct support from the WealthEngine team. And of course, you always have access to customer support whenever you need it. So take advantage of your complimentary access, use your credits, and tap into the training. Everything here is designed to help you grow your luxury business. Now that we understand what WealthEngine is, what are the best ways to actually use it, Alex?
Great question, Zach. So there are several powerful ways to utilize WealthEngine, and it can be customized to fit a variety of marketing and prospecting needs. Let's walk through some of the most impactful ways our agents are using it today. So one of the best things about WealthEngine is how easily you can look up potential buyers or sellers before you even reach out. Top agents like Jade Mills in California, he uses it to walk into every conversation feeling prepared and confident. So under the search tab, you can quickly look up an individual by name or address. WealthEngine then provides a snapshot of their estimated net worth, assets, income, age, investable wealth, and more. For example, if a buyer inquires about a $5 million property, you can quickly verify their financial profile to see if they're even qualified before scheduling a showing. And similarly, before a listing appointment, you can review the seller's real estate holdings and wealth indicators so that you can tailor your strategy, presentation, and conversation to their needs. What I really like about WealthEngine is how powerful it is for building precise, highly targeted prospecting lists. For example, if you're marketing a lakefront home or an equestrian property, you can easily search for individuals who own boats or yachts or those who have an interest in horses. And if you have a listing that would be ideal for a family, you can filter for prospects who have children and even see their ages. And if you're trying to identify potential downsizers, you can look at factors like age group and how long someone has lived in their current home. It really helps you connect the right buyers with the right properties in a much more strategic way. We had one agent showcase this during a listing appointment for a property with a 30-car garage. And he explained that WealthEngine could identify potential buyers based on indicators like luxury vehicle ownership, even down to the make, model, and number of cars registered. So by demonstrating that he could market directly to people most likely to value extensive garage space, he proved his strategic approach and won the listing. And Moira Boyle will demonstrate how to create these lists a little later today, but the takeaway is very simple. You can build custom prospecting lists for any audience, whether you're targeting buyers for a specific property or identifying strong listing opportunities. Because once your list is generated, you can download it as an Excel file and use those contacts across your marketing channels, which leads us to the next slide.
I forgot to
Alyssa,
unmute myself. Okay, so after you've built a targeted prospecting list, there are several effective ways, as Alex just mentioned, to activate it and market directly to the right audience. So WealthEngine helps ensure that you're not marketing broadly. As I mentioned earlier, you're marketing strategically to hyper-targeted individuals who are more likely to engage and convert. And so some of the top prospecting strategies that we're seeing other agents leverage and we recommend include boost ads, which allow you to reach ideal buyers directly through social media and web advertising campaigns. And these ads are available within all of the listing concierge packages, as well as via its own tile on desk. You also can leverage email marketing, where you can send curated listing marketing messaging to potential buyers. You also have traditional mailers, such as postcards or brochures, which can still be really effective in luxury markets, especially if you're looking at potential sellers in your area. And lastly, what I would consider probably the most effective option is digital advertising overall. So this includes targeted advertising campaigns through platforms like Google or Meta, or even our luxury media partners through the Global Luxury Program. These advertising campaigns typically allow you to upload your WealthEngine prospect lists for direct targeting, and often can also leverage tactics like retargeting, so the ads will continue to follow those consumers wherever they are online. And as mentioned, because we strongly recommend using WealthEngine audiences for digital advertising campaigns, I wanted to explain why, right? What's the reason behind that? And it's because we consistently see stronger performance with wealth-based targeting for these types of ads. As a direct example of the measurability and enhanced performance, here's a real listing example. So one of the main ways that we can measure performance is through CTR, which stands for click-through rate. And a CTR basically tells us how many people clicked on the ad after seeing it. So it's ultimately one of the best indicators of whether you're reaching the right audience and whether they're actually engaged and interested in what you're advertising, right? And so in this example, a $17 million oceanfront property ran a digital boost ad campaign using standard geographic targeting, and this produced a CTR of 0.95%. But when we used a WealthEngine prospecting list instead, and we're able to use precision targeting to reach more qualified high wealth individuals, the CTR increased to 1.87%, which is nearly double the engagement. And so this is why WealthEngine targeting is so powerful, because it drove almost 100%, it was 97% higher engagement, helping the listing agent connect with more qualified luxury buyers. And so the takeaway here is that the more precise the targeting, the better the results. All in all, targeted advertising is smarter marketing. It helps you to strategically budget, reach consumers, and position both your listing and your brand in the most effective way possible. But now that we've seen the impact, how do we start building these prospecting lists and choose the right targeting, Alex?
That's a great question. Yeah, so the first step in building an effective prospecting list is starting with the property and the type of buyer that you're trying to reach. So when you're using WealthEngine and building that target and marketing strategy, simply accessing the tool isn't enough. You also want to be intentional about your approach, really thinking through which attributes inside WealthEngine you will use to curate that prospect list. This is essentially your profiling strategy, and it should be a core part of how you market every single property. But you don't have to do it alone. You can actually leverage AI to help you identify the key attributes of your listing, giving you a clearer picture of who the most likely buyer might be. So when you use AI, the prompts that you give it matter a lot. Being intentional with those prompts will help you get more accurate, more actionable results. So we wanted to share a few tips to help you do just that. You can start by dropping in your property URL, and the system instantly steps in like your own professional market analyst. It breaks down the property detail from price, amenities to neighborhood and style. And then it identifies the top 5 feeder markets most likely to produce your buyer and explains why each one matters based on real behavior and migration patterns. So from there, it builds a clear, compelling, ideal buyer profile, demographics, lifestyle, preferences, and the motivations that drive someone to buy a property just like yours. The goal is simple. Be specific, be data-driven, and use these insights to market smarter, target better, and attract the right buyers faster. All right, so now we're going to jump into the fun part. I'm very excited to introduce Moira Boyle, who's going to give us a live demo of the platform. She will show you how the platform works in real time and exactly how you can use it to find high quality prospects. So Moira, if you want to share your screen, you can do that.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Moira. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. So I've worked with Coldwell Banker, gosh, since we started this program almost 10 years ago. And it's always great to see how it is still applied and adopted because there are very few data sources like us out there. So when you're talking to new listings about using data, you almost have exclusivity on us because no one else is using it as broadly as Coldwell Banker. So it is sort of a very unique resource that puts you in a very different position than probably other agents in the marketplace. So here, the platform does several things. We're going to look up an individual, but I'm starting here in this prospecting tab, which is where you can build that list or even just do some general market research. I always kind of make sure I click two things. You want to make sure you're just hitting households because quite frequently both spouses or partners are wealthy, and we don't want to overdo it. But you could come in here and say, how many ultra wealthy people are there? If you have one of those multi-million-dollar properties, you could start to think about who they are and be able to contact them or just to send an email. There will be postal addresses on everybody, but on emails, not as, you see, we probably have about 70% emails on here. The emails that we curate here are scrubbed monthly. Emails are, a very personal, touchy data points, have to be refreshed constantly. Part of the sort of the compliance with marketing expectations in the country, but we do it ourselves. We actually scrub them, pull them out of the data set every month and refresh them. So this number could change, next month. It could be slightly higher, it could be slightly lower, but we're always making sure that recency of the contact data is really, really the best that it can be because it is so important for you. So we talked as we were planning for today. They gave me two addresses and two sort of $5 million properties to look at, which is fun because they're going to be very different. One is in Lake Havasu City, and let me pull up that zip code. So 86406. This is, on Lake Havasu. It is a resortish area. There's going to be a lot of spring breakers. It's about 3.5 hours from Phoenix. So trying to understand if you have a listing there, again, using AI, you could go out and find those possible feeder properties. I kind of looked at two. I didn't jump to the AI idea just yet on this, but if you wanted to look close by, you could say we've got at the query 25 miles. Maybe do I have the right zip code? Oh, this is why, because I have my wealth up all crazy high. So the $5 million property, give yourself some wiggle room, start at 5 million, most likely going to be 10 million, but there's 328 individuals right away. That's a telling point. But in here, when you're looking at this kind of property, you could also refine there's going to be boating, there's going to be hiking. So we could come in and start to look at some of our interests in here and layer in some of those lifestyles to understand really how to refine and curate this list. Go down to my outdoor sports. So we've got boating, we've got camping, we've got fishing, and maybe some RV activity. So that's an and function. So if I do and, you'll see that it gets quite low. Or if I do or, we're going among that group of attributes, you're at just under 300. And this is a fantastic list to think about. The other interesting thing to do, though, like maybe it's not a billionaire neighborhood. So you could actually decrease the net worth as well if there's sort of a fine-tuned sort of target wealth, segment that you're looking for. But you can play with it. Again, that's the beautiful thing here. You can start to go, okay, not that many ultra wealthy live nearby, which is telling. 50 million, and so that's that your ceiling is 50 million. If you brought it down to 25 million, still your ceiling. So a pretty narrow wealth band that's available here, which is kind of interesting.
Well, just say, let's say for example's sake that this property is in a neighborhood that's really family friendly. How would we incorporate an attribute that would identify somebody that has a family or something of that nature?
Sure. So we could go into the demographics here. It's children data, like exact child data, is hard to get to. So you can see you've really called it quite low here. So I think the presence of children, and we define children under 18 and under, 17 and under. I think that's the best coverage. If you start to get too targeted and say, there's a great junior baseball program here. We're really looking for boys, 12 to 14. You're going to get down to like one lead. So that's a little bit too narrow. But I think adding that presence of children here is definitely a good way to think about this. The other thing I would do here, because I did a sort of a little bit of research on it, I would be actually looking at real estate investors. So this is a property that could be used maybe for Airbnb or as a rental income. And I would come down here and I would do two different things. I would look at total number of properties owned. And we could say two, I live outside of New York City. People have an apartment in New York and either a ski house or a beach house. That's not really an investor. That's just somebody who likes to get away on weekends. So you might take it up to 3 and say, okay, so now we're at 173. But even from there, I would go one step further and say, okay, let's see who literally is out there calling themselves an investor. So now I've got 116 people. So now I've got the wealth band pretty tight. I've got, the radius. I'm looking for local people who might be looking to invest in that property. And I've got existing ownership. And then I've got that flag. But then, you could come in here. I think I wrote down Phoenix's zip code too. Yeah. You could say, well, what about people from Phoenix who are looking to get away? And simply just by changing the zip code, you could start to think about, is this something? And you could have seen other migration patterns from Phoenix that would warrant, this sort of search. And you see it jumps right away because that's obviously a bigger wealth area. We had a Coldwell Banker agent a couple of years ago at one of the events I spoke at, who was selling ski properties up in Idaho. Hard again to attract people because in theory, anyone across the country could want to invest in a ski property there. But as we were talking, he noticed, he said, we actually have a lot of interest coming out of Brentwood, California, or current owners in Brentwood, California. So he followed up on that, pulled a list out of WealthEngine of other like same age group, 45 to 60, certain wealth metrics. And he did just a simple, marketing campaign. We're waiting for you in Sun Valley. And it worked. So sometimes looking at who's already there, if you've got access to that intel, obviously can be a great leading indicator. But as we sort of layered in different options here, and what we didn't do was look at age, and I would definitely always do that. So I don't think maybe come down to 75. Somebody could be looking to move here, as a retirement home. And then just clean it up down here, maybe come up to 30. And you see in Phoenix that dropped it by almost 500 people because again, you've got wealthy retirees in the state. But you can look at age, wealth, lifestyle interest, number of properties owned, real estate investor flags. What else did we layer in here? That number of properties.
Yeah, I was going to say this would be a great option, Moira, where we were speaking earlier about utilizing that AI buyer profile. This is where those demographic factors, you would put those into play as you're searching for your various prospects within here.
Yep.
How would an agent potentially use this as we, maybe prep for a listing presentation, maybe to get some background information on a potential client?
So you could do all this. You could, you wouldn't with you all get, a certain number of credits. You don't have to pull all that. You could pull, I think, 25 or something. But then you could look up one of those individuals on the list and use that in a selling conversation to say, what if we could connect you with somebody like this? And I'll show you an individual in a minute. But I did just want to quickly, if it works for you guys, you sent me a second option, which was in New Jersey, which is in my neck of the woods. And that zip code was 074. Where's my typing? 07458. So this is in, I think, Montvale, New Jersey. And I know it well because the address is Chestnut Ridge Road and my brother's high school is a block from this property. Very different demographic that you're going to be looking for here. So I'm just going to hit add to query, but we're going to change some of these things on here. So North Jersey, there is definitely pockets of nice wealth up there to tap into. I wouldn't keep this so tight. I might come up here a little bit more. But then I would be definitely looking at, I don't know if I'd be looking at total number of properties, because if you look at this property online, it's a statement property. It's got, I don't remember if it's got a fountain, but it's got a very grand entrance. It's lots of entertaining space. It's on a main road. It's on a very, very busy road, which is interesting. So it is a statement piece that you'd be looking at. And in my opinion, what I would test would be coming down into here, and I would be looking at business owners or CEOs, people who have considerable wealth, who are looking to make a statement with the type of property they own. So let me just take that one out and add in business owners. And I mean, you can see that area's got considerable wealth in here, but you're on the right track here with looking at, that high level person who's looking for a visible, a point of visibility, a point of separation with a very visible property like that. Or, you could also change that to senior level executive, add that to the query. And they may or may not have children. Again, when I looked at the property, I saw that it's gorgeous, lots of amenities and lots of entertaining space. But then you would like, the same way as looking at the Arizona property, think about what those feeder areas are. North Jersey.
Let's say for the sake of AI and just kind of the example for this New Jersey property, that majority of the feeder markets are throughout New York. Mm-hmm. How would we add a state overall? Is that possible?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So we would change this just to New York, because I would actually, I grew up here. Staten Island is a massive feeder center for wealthy areas, particularly in North Jersey. So you could just come in here and just pull New York. And you see right away, you've got almost 17,000. Or what you could do is say, let's just do 100 miles from the zip code. Because I don't think people in Albany are necessarily going to be thinking about coming here. But I think a drive distance is certainly, you're still at a massive amount with this wealth. This is where you have the luxury of bringing it up, and it's going to drop. So we're at 31,000 now. And you see it's, it cuts almost by 2/3. So you could get pretty creative here with thinking about how to target this group of people. But I love the fact that they were such different properties with literally different attractions that would be fueling it. So again, you could actually, we've had agents use this on an iPad in selling conversations, in listing conversations, going in and sitting down and say, what if we could target this, super tight? And you could layer in, I think this one had also like a large garage setup. So we could go into our vehicles and go into number of cars and, and say, where's my greater than 5. And look what you get. So all of a sudden you're really starting to fine tune that list. And again, you don't have to take it all now. You could actually download, like I said, 25 or 50. And I'm a big fan of testing before you jump into anything, but really start to play with what that audience looks like.
Moira, can you please also show the preview results just to show the agents how that looks like? So you can always preview. Once you do your filters, you can click preview results. And if you want to do that just for fun.
Sure. The other sort of just housekeeping thing will save you time. If you think this is a query that like 996 is too many names, you're going to want to pull the small test amount. Take a picture or screenshot of this and save it, because once we get past the next two screens, you're not going to see that list of refinement that you created here. It's not going to repopulate itself. So you're going to want to take a picture of it so that you can actually duplicate it pretty easily. And again, you could come in here and say, okay, great, where's my real estate properties? Down here, I've got my real estate values. Out of that 900, 210 or over 10 million. Down here, you might want to come in and refine the list by the existing portfolio values and say, we're really not that interested in people with smaller homes. I would not necessarily say that's the best way to go, because sometimes people are living in an apartment in Staten Island or someplace for a while, saving money to buy a property like this. So, it's a point to test, but you definitely have that opportunity to come in here and play with that data. Income is we don't use income as a refining indicator that much, because income, first of all, is a private data point, very hard to get to in most scenarios. We have benchmarks here, but for instance, Mark Cuban is listed as having $500,000. We don't offer a lot of granularity and visibility over that $500,000 mark, because it's very hard. Someone like Mark Cuban will have anywhere from 10 to 500 income streams, and there's no way data can capture that. So we do very much, recommend using that net worth as that indicator, because that we know what's going on. That's based on the real estate properties they have. It's based on where they live. It's based on charities that we can document that they've donated to. If someone's at Goldman Sachs, that's part of the algorithm. We can get to some C-suite people. We have Dun & Bradstreet data in here. So this is going to be, in terms of getting data on wealth, this is going to be a stronger indicator for you.
And just because we're starting to run a little tight on time into the Q&A, before we go into the search, I wanted to mention one other thing. So when you're looking at this preview results screen, when you're pulling a prospecting list, no credits are going to be pulled. Once you move on to the next screen, that is where you will start to lose your credits. So just be sure that before you proceed here, you're sure that you want to proceed.
Yep. This is where the credit counter starts. You're correct. Exactly. This is exactly where it starts. So anyway, there's lots of, and again, you could move those levers around and start and come up with different scenarios, as I just did.
In addition to learning about their wealth factors and whatnot in WealthEngine, you can also look at some of their interests. You can look at their charitable donations and see if you can pinpoint any similarities or commonalities that you have with them that you can leverage to help build rapport faster when you go sit at that table. So just think outside the box a little bit when you're leveraging WealthEngine for that case.
Correct. Yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much, Moira. I know Alex is getting that pulled back up. One other note to related to what Alyssa was just speaking about. You may be being pulled in for a listing presentation on one property, and you may see through WealthEngine they have 4 or 5 other properties. You may be being interviewed for multiple listings at one point in time. So it's always good to have a full understanding of who it is you're connecting with. So that's what WealthEngine is here to help you do, on top of its amazing prospecting capabilities as well. With there, we want to remind you of some broader marketing support resources. ColdWealthBankerMarketing.com provides a central hub for you to access all of our additional support offered by the field marketing team, including links to the marketing catalog, next available appointment, additional live workshops, social media resources, and more. This website is not specific to the Global Luxury Marketing Program, but is most useful for agents who are looking for more technical or product-specific support. We hope you're walking away from this workshop with new inspiration, a better understanding of WealthEngine and targeted advertising. To recap next steps, if you are a luxury property specialist, your first step is to follow the link provided to set up your WealthEngine account. Just a reminder that account setup typically takes about 2 weeks, so we encourage you to get started as soon as possible. Next, take time to review the targeting criteria we covered today and really think through your ideal buyer and seller audiences. From there, build your first custom prospecting list and test it using a new or existing marketing channel. Use WealthEngine to help qualify new leads and be more strategic when preparing for listing appointments. Finally, leverage AI profiling and feeder market data to market your listings more effectively, drive higher engagement, and reach the right audience at the right time.
Again, thank you so much again for joining us to learn more about WealthEngine and targeted advertising. And for those of you who've had questions, we will now open it up for a live Q&A. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask your questions directly. And as a reminder, since our time is limited, please try to keep questions focused on topics that would be applicable to the entire group. And if you have more detailed or specific questions, you can always reach out to any of us or your luxury marketing team member for additional support.
Now, on the screen, I want to point out you're going to see a QR code to the initial agreement form to sign up for your complimentary WealthEngine account if you haven't already done so. As a reminder, these are only going to be routed for approval if you are a certified luxury property specialist. So please be sure that you are not submitting this form if you are not a certified specialist. Additionally, we have noted some WealthEngine support resources that are available as you continue to get familiar with the platform. And I also want to note that we will be sharing a couple of resources at the end of the session in the chat, at which time we will be sharing a sample AI profiling prompt, which you can use in reference to the slide that Alex went over about AI profiling. So now, as Alex mentioned, we're going to go ahead and allow you all to unmute and ask your questions. So please feel free to place them in the chat and raise your hand if you would like to be unmuted. Zach and Alex, do we want to run through what we have in the chat and see if there's anything that we can address while we're waiting for any raised hands?
Yep, I'm just looking through real quick. Felix Machado has a question related to being a direct link to the software. So Felix, assuming you have an account and have signed up already, then this link I'm putting in the chat right now will take you to the WealthEngine platform. I would recommend bookmarking that link. If you do not have an account already, then that link will not really be relevant at this particular moment. But make sure to fill out the agreement form, as we were just mentioning. Let's see, there's specific mention of related to whether this can be used for any listing or for a sample listing from Naples. As you saw, we can also do targeting specific to a property. So yes, in a sense. Let's see, does this help me find high dollar areas to market folks that want to move there or move from? So Teresa, in that instance, I would maybe consider starting with that AI buyer profile, as we were discussing earlier, because that also will help you to identify feeder markets, which I think is generally speaking going to address where we're wanting to go with that question. But if not, please feel free to follow up in the chat or come off mute and raise your hand. AI slide at the end. I think that is that in relation to the prompt, Shannon, for the creating the buyer profile.
Please feel free to unmute yourselves. Everybody should now have the ability to raise their hands and unmute themselves.
Yeah, just to clarify, you raise your hand and then we'll unmute you one at a time. You don't have the ability to unmute yourselves until we enable your mic and camera.
Perfect. specific marketing content that's suggested to send to these individuals. Well, in a general sense, Shannon, we do recommend utilizing this information related to digital ad targeting. It is generally speaking going to be far more effective. But obviously the world is your oyster. So there's that. And do I need to have a listing in order to reach an audience? Hopefully, as you saw, Marie, you can utilize the prospecting aspect of this to establish a contact list. If you wanted to send agent-specific marketing, though, again, that would be more specifically recommended to a digital ad campaign, potentially, promoting yourself in that way to a potential feeder market and or to your local marketplace.
Laura, do you have any additions to these responses or questions, anything that you want to add?
So much, but this is great. So one housekeeping item, that WealthEngine color sport at WealthEngine, when we were acquired, that was actually no longer valid. So I think you guys have Jenny and my direct emails. That's really that's the best way to get hold of us. The Coldwell Banker WealthEngine hasn't been active for a little bit now. So I was going to say that as we wrapped up today. The feeder piece, or I'm sorry, the marketing on your own piece, I absolutely think is a great idea, and it's a wonderful use case. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, and I had a colleague who was a Coldwell Banker agent use us there. She pulled everybody within, it feels like there's a little bit of echo. I apologize for that. She pulled within 20 miles of 08540 and said, welcome to the most vibrant real estate community engagement person you could ever find. And she did this wonderful selling piece and got a lot of responses out of it. I don't know how many listings she got out of it, but she actually had people call her. So yes, that is definitely a use case. I did see a piece about the renewal process in July. So how that works with us is I work with Coldwell Banker headquarters, same way I have for 10 years. We're actually talking now. I don't anticipate a change, but I can't speak for them necessarily, but we're already moving forward. You don't need to do anything. Everything rolls forward at that point.
So just to kind of piggyback on that, thank you, Moira. So John, in July 1st, you will receive 500 additional credits in your account automatically. The credits that you have right now, they don't roll over. So just make sure that you use those credits now on until July 1st. But there should be an additional 500 credits that you can use in your marketing efforts on July 1st.
And again, please feel free to raise your hand if you would like to ask any questions live. I do see we have a raised hand here.
Hi, Barry. Can we unmute?
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
We do,
yes.
Just a quick question. So I filled out the sign up form and I haven't heard anything. So is that we talking like a 2-week period potentially till we hear back?
I am so glad you asked that question. I don't have visibility until the end of the process. Parts of it are still kind of manual, so we appreciate your patience. In a perfect world, you would fill out that form, it would be automated, click, and then you'd be in. It goes through a couple of levels of review at Coldwell Banker to make sure that it's a luxury certified specialist in the process or submitting the form, and then it kind of goes into a system. And then it comes to me for our attorney signature. There's a lot of data privacy laws in the world these days. And then it goes back to Coldwell Banker. We're automating. We actually just took out 2 pieces of those steps, so it should move faster. But it can take up to 2 weeks just simply because it's kind of a start and stop process. So I apologize, but it's better than it was. I can honestly say that. But we're trying to automate as much of it as we possibly can.
Yeah,
And
okay,
as a
so that's
reminder,
more,
if you've
I guess the
if
question is, I filled it out, so I just kind of wait to hear from folks. There's nothing more I need
so
to
No.
do.
you're going to
Okay,
wait for a DocuSign via email. That'll be the next step. So just keep an eye out from a DocuSign that will come from Moira specifically, correct?
I don't see what they get, to be
Okay.
honest.
I
So
believe it does show your name from my recollection.
okay,
So
yeah,
you
I don't
will
know.
see a DocuSign related to Wealth Engine, and I'm about 90% sure it does come from Moira's name specifically. So that's what you're going to keep an eye out for.
okay, all right, excellent, thank you.
And if you do
Of
have any
course, and we
questions on
actually have
the, I was going to say, if you do have any questions on the process as it continues, I've put in the chat our luxury workshop series brochure, which actually has all of the various luxury marketing team members. You should have yours easily identifiable there, so you can follow up with them as well.
And there's a really great question in the chat that I think Moira can expand on, but I'm going to give a quick answer here. So this agent asked, she said she's a member of the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing, and obviously she's a global luxury agent. And for those of you who are both, you probably are aware that both Coldwell Banker and the Institute offer Wealth Engine access, but we offer separate accounts. And so the agent's question here is, do I need to sign up for Wealth Engine within Global Luxury for the 500 credits, or will I have those accessible through the Institute? So the former is the case. You do have to sign up through Coldwell Banker in order to leverage your credits with us. But I think Moira can speak in a little bit more detail about a kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Managing those two different offerings in the situations that may arise for those of you who signed up with ILHM first or things like that. So I'll let Moira dive in a little deeper here.
I don't know if you guys just saw me get accosted by my dog. He's tired of me talking today. He pushed me out of the frame for a second there. It is, yeah, so we don't make it easy with the ILHM and Coldwell Banker, different points of access. ILHM has a different program. I actually don't manage that one, but there are fewer credits available through that process. But you are not required to sign the data privacy law requirement that Coldwell Banker's attorneys require here. So in theory, you could sign up for both, but we have to maintain separate processes on our side, again, for the contracting piece of it. But yes, so this program offers more credits. That's just the kind of the simplest way to talk about it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if they did want to sign up for both, they cannot use the same email address, correct?
I think they can. I don't know why they can, to be honest.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't see that as an issue necessarily, but it's I will say it's interesting. It's hard to keep you enrolled in both. The system's going to try and it's not just the email. It's whether it's Moira Boyle at Princeton Real Estate. It's going to flag duplicate activity. So it's more of a CRM issue than anything else. And even with separate emails, we probably are going to have to toggle you back and forth. It's going to be hard to maintain two separate accesses at the same time.
Sounds like it's just easier to get your 500
things,
credits from
to
CV
keep
and call it a
something
day.
exactly, to keep it simple, probably sticking to one account, and the Coldwell Banker one does offer more
Yeah.
overall. So if you're able to, just stick with the Coldwell Banker Global Luxury offered account. I know we're at time, so if you need to leave, of course, please feel free to hop off. But thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to Moira. Thank you so much.